calls.
Right. We have this here, so.
Okay. Patty, you gonna do it or you want me to do it?
I will do it gladly. Dawn Span,
Or Tim,
Present.
can you hear me?
Gary,
Present.
Marilyn?
Present.
Present.
All right, Larry?
Present.
And I'm present, so we're all here. First of all, before we get started, I wanted to publicly thank
Dawn, can
Ann
I interrupt you?
for his role on the planning board for a number of years. And
Dawn,
then secondly, I wanted to welcome Marilyn for joining the board. So, thank you. Are you with us now?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I'll keep going.
I'm
We have the
screaming
approval
at
of
you.
minutes for the January 8th, 2026 meeting. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, and one abstention. Thank you.
Dawn, can you hear me now?
Hey, do we have you yet?
Yeah, I'm sitting right here talking to you. Can you hear me? No, it says it's unmute.
Yeah, I'm assuming Patty is not with us. All right, so we've approved the minutes. So the first item on the agenda, public hearing, Burkett Construction LLC has submitted an annual blasting permit application for the quarries off River Road, tax map R02 34-D. So
Mr. Chair, if I sit out there, can I sit?
you can sit there.
Um,
You can sit there. Unless the board objects.
I'm fine.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Chair, I am in a butter to that. I don't think I have a conflict, but I'll leave it up to the board to decide whether I can.
I'm fine.
Okay, you're fine. Thank you for letting.
Thank you.
Just make sure that's recorded in the minutes, please.
Yep.
That the board is fine. Go ahead and introduce yourself and move forward.
All right, good evening. I'm Ian Messier with Crooker Construction. I also have with us Scott Bernier, who is our aggregate manager, as well as Joe Hanna, who's been working with our blasting program for 33 years. Once again, we're back here for our annual renewal permit for our blasting application for our Pajemskit quarry. Kind of just a rough recap of the 25 season. Because your application is both a review process and an application process. We blasted about 88,000 yards of ledge. That was down actually from 25 from 24 when we did 115,000. Took a total of 12 shots. Currently, we're blasting in what's called cap rock, a top section. As we make our way around the quarry, we shifted some roads around this year and trying to set the quarry up for a more productive manner for this coming year. Some other highlights, the only complaint we received was from a neighbor across the river in Brunswick. It was a minor complaint and addressed, nothing in Topsham. Responding to a little bit of comment we did receive for the public side. We did not do the turbidity samples that are currently required this year. There was a discussion with first the planning board and the codes officer and then the residents that due to the lack of water from the drought, turbidity samples require a lot of water. So we decided not to do them. Homeowners were okay with it and move forward.
So Ian, not to correct you, but that wasn't with the planning board, that was with planning staff.
Yes, sorry, with planning staff and then we're referred to the code officer and then with the homeowners.
I just want to make sure for the record.
Yep, absolutely. And moving forward in 26, we would like to discuss that as well. Just we have never had any issues with turbidity from that process. So more than happy to keep doing it, but it is a burden on wells and a lot of people just don't want that, especially with the conditions we've seen in the last few years. So we would gladly keep doing it, but would be open to just saying, at the owner's discretion or, not required. Just again, kind of moving forward with some highlights, continued using bulk product, which is instead of stick and powder, it's a bulk dynamite product that we use. We hired the same company, Precise, to come in and do third-party monitoring of our seismographs as well this year. Austin Powder is our drilling sub and blasting sub, so the same continual company for the last few years. And we blasted every other week with the exception of December. That was meant to fill in for some days, missed blast days during the year. So really not proposing a lot of changes for this year, same application process. We're gonna continue doing all the required monitoring. We continue to use CB and Mahar for our water quality for the state permits and for our submission on the state level as well. So we have the same backup information we've always had. And I would open it up to any questions.
Do we have any questions on the board?
But you already answered my usual question, is about the complaints, so
Yep.
it sounds just like across the river.
Across the river, yeah,
Probably
it
had
was
something to do
addressed.
with you guys blasting up at the top.
Yeah, it was a noise complaint and Scott jump in, but this didn't amount to anything more than the conversation.
I did have a quick question, and just for my own, because I went through it. I know PPV is peak particle velocity.
Yes,
What are the V, the T, and the L?
Joe?
Vertical and trans in the seismograph itself, that reads it's the geo part of the seismograph. It's got wiring there, and it's trans, vertical, and horizontal wavelengths is what it's reading at certain hertzes.
Thank you.
You're gonna become an expert for that.
Yeah, next year we'll have our expert up here. We're getting him broken in for public speaking, so. This is a good start. I told him there was gonna be a big crowd tonight just for him, so.
There was one class that seemed to be pretty high with the air.
That was
the
over,
decibels.
yeah, it was lower, it was above the state limit, but lower than the town limit, so we reported it to the state and we actually didn't have a complaint from that blast.
And was it just because probably there were two, it seemed like there were two blasts at the same time when you looked at the data, but was it, there was a
Was that?
O4B and O4A and O4B on
So
that date?
On that chart.
we did have two blasts. We were blasting just rocks, boulders that were oversized that fit into our crushing operation. So we load that with explosives and cover it with sand. It is technically two different blasts, but no more production, say, no more explosives really. It's a whole.
Just
And
probably
doesn't
makes
sound
a
like
little
that
bit more
actually
noise
caused
with
that,
having the
it's just a-
boulders rather than down the drill.
It can, that's why we cover it with a bunch of sand on top.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Larry.
Question I have actually in the memorandum, 2025, you had 12 blast events, I believe.
Okay,
And it said, was an estimated total of 48 blast events. Or in 2026, is that 4 times as many blast events?
I believe we have 12 blast days.
Yeah.
Trying to find the application.
May I say something?
Come on up,
Yeah,
Joe.
Yes.
so again,
Go.
when
If you
I,
don't mind, come on
Okay, now to
up.
the microphone, Joe.
in the beginning years, when we first started blasting up there, we did take up with the 46 shots. And before we figured out, well, we can time things a little differently, and we used to take, Dick Morgan used to combine shots together and shoot it as one, so we started cutting all those numbers down. So we're only taking 12, but we've always left it at 48 for the number of blasts that we used, because that's what we used 35 years ago, so.
So Larry, I'm not answering for you, but if I
Yep.
remember correctly, typically they've been at that higher range and typically they come in having done less.
Yeah, and I
Right,
think,
Is that a good way to
Yeah,
describe
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, exactly.
we had this issue in another town, when we were re-upping permits and trying to figure out language, and I think there's a distinguish between blast days and blast events, because sometimes we'll shoot 2 shots at a time, and that will technically count as 2 different shots. So it'll be, it'll be the same, 12 days roughly that we're submitting on. I think there's a schedule in here.
I know that in the past, you're down deep into the quarry.
Yep.
Are you saying that this year you're proposing to be up higher and that's
Do you want to provide a kind of a layout or,
Is that gonna change what the, the sound with wave and all of that different stuff?
So typically we have been blasting down in our quarry, down near the bottom. But we've kind of exhausted that and it's coming on us. We're running out of room. So right now we're just blasting from the top down again, going around the quarry. And really it's just the angle of the shots, what way they're kind of facing and being up top with less walls around it.
But they do, to try to answer your question, so again, Austin kind of runs our blasting program from the sense of how they drill and how they load the holes. So when you drill deeper versus up top, they'll do things differently in order to accommodate to meet the same standards. So we shouldn't expect any more air blast or, because we're required at the end of the day to hit the 129 state, 133 town. Sometimes that might mean smaller shots, tighter drill patterns, etc., angling faces a certain way. We'll do that quite a bit.
By the way, as a butter, I've never had any problems with them, so.
Appreciate that.
The turnout on the road, though, I haven't heard a lot of neighbors and they're questioning about that. That's not related to your plan.
Yep, well, good to know anyways, and we
Yeah.
do try to send the sweeper up quite a bit, so if it is a continual problem, we will continue, and Dennis is usually, I know he's retiring, but I'm sure he'll pass the word on to be good about giving us a shout if there are issues.
Anything else?
You ready for a motion?
Nope. I'm gonna open up the public hearing. All right, we're now open for any comments, questions, concerns specifically related to this project, which is the blasting permit application. Once again, any questions, concerns, comments? Any for the board or for the applicant?
It's just renewing an application for the same gravel pit, right?
Yes, sir. You good?
Yeah.
Close, back to the board. Any further discussion? If not, I'll open a motion.
Make a motion. I move that the blasting permit application for Jepscott Quarry Tax Map R2, Lot 6 and 34D, having met the applicable standards in the blasting ordinance, Chapter 85, be approved with the staff recommended conditions and findings identified in the staff memo dated February 26, 2025.
Second.
Okay, before we vote, I think, Ian, to your question, I think all those conditions continue to have the turbidity as well, so.
Yep.
As long as you recognize.
That's fine,
basically,
that's fine. Just wanted to mention that again, it's more of a stress for the homeowner than it is to us. It's not a big deal for us to do it. It's just again, a requirement of somebody's well that when you have wells, there's summers like last year. And maybe it's, we have no problem working with the town and saying the same process we did. And don't think it's a good idea. We'll get sign offs from that.
All right. No other discussion, all in favor? All opposed, and one abstention. All right, thank you.
Don, before you go on, can I have your attention? Hello?
Just gonna try to say hi, honey, wherever you are.
Yes, Patty.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Hi, I need Ian's last name
Messier, Messier.
and Marilyn's last name.
Hunter, Hunter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Then you got Patty on that motion. It was Tim made the motion and Carrie seconded.
Yep, thank you.
And we have a full board for the roll call. Okay, next item is subdivision pre-application, and just for everybody's edification. My understanding is we did send out notice to abutters, so after we go through this initial discussion, then I will accept comments from the public. So, StoneX Construction LLC is proposing an open space subdivision consisting of 40 new residential lots at 300 Meadow Cross Road, tax map 89 and 90. So Joe, are you doing that?
Yep.
Please identify yourself and
Sure. My name is Joe Martin. I'm a civil engineer with Sightlines, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm Josh. If you can promote me, please. So quick rundown of the project team for the application. So as you notice, StoneX Construction is the applicant, Sightlines is the civil engineer and the surveyor of record for the project, and then Mainly Soils is helping out with the wetlands delineation and the septic test pits. If this project moves forward, we will have other people we bring on board to meet other sections of the state requirements. We're gonna need someone to do like a nitrate plume analysis and a soil high intensity soil survey, and I'm sure there'll be other people we bring on as well. So this is the site context map. This is part of the requirements of the pre-application package, and what this is intended to show is just kind of the surrounding area, any subdivisions within the vicinity of the project, and just a general existing conditions of the surrounding area. So the area highlighted in yellow is the two properties that we're talking about. The one of them has frontage on Meadow Cross Road, and that is a single family residence on it right now. And the other lot is on the opposite side of the CMP right of way, and that's just undeveloped land sitting there. There are a few subdivisions generally in the vicinity of the project, but there's none directly abutting. Meadow Cross Road and runs here. There is some agricultural farmland here. I believe this one is also classified as agricultural farmland as well, and that is within a conservation easement or an agricultural easement. Slide here. So this is the site inventory plan. This is where we take the boundaries of the property and we look at natural resources and any other considerations on the property that we should consider when we're looking at the layout and the design of the subdivision. So I'll first state that we had a wetland biologist go out on site. There was snow cover on the ground. He did the best he could, but this is just kind of preliminary wetland delineation. Once the snow melts, whatever happens, he'll go back out on site and he'll delineate wetlands, the stream, and he'll also look for any vernal pools. So when we come back to you for preliminary, we'll have that updated wetland information on you. But you can see here, these hashed areas are all forested wetlands and through here. And there's also a stream that comes off site here, a stream that runs off site there as well.
Meadow Cross Road is on the far right.
Sir,
That's
sir, please don't interrupt.
Huh?
I'll recognize you when he's finished and we accept comments from you.
Meadow Cross Road is right here. And this project is, this plan view is looking north up this way. There is one abutting residential house right here on the frontage of the property. And again, that existing residence I noted on the property is right here. There's kind of a driveway extending up Meadow Cross Road. There's also some red arrows you see here that generally shows the drainage on the property. There's kind of a split somewhere right here where this area drains southeasterly towards that stream, which runs off site, eventually crosses Meadow Cross Road down over this area. And then this side of the property drains to this stream, which flows off site. I'm not exactly sure where that crosses, but that eventually does, I believe, cross Meadow Cross Road further down here. Oh, one other item here. We did map, what the town ordinance classifies as steep slopes. And that's kind of these very small areas here. None of them meet the requirements of, 2 acres, so they're not included in the, net residential density calculation. But we did want to map them so you can see on the property where those are. And then this is the site analysis plan. So in the ordinance, when you're doing open space subdivision, what you're looking at is trying to conserve what they classify as primary conservation areas, which is you're looking at vernal pools, streams, wetland areas. And that's, we've kind of mapped here. And this darker hashed area is the stream corridor, and that consists of the stream and the 100-foot setback associated with that stream. Again, over here, that's another stream segment. We also highlighted areas that we want to try to conserve, which is this kind of large wetland complex area. And then there's another larger wetland complex over in this corner. We also wanted to be careful of impacts to abutters, and that includes again that agricultural land here, and then also that single family residence right in that corner. And that's just looking for, you know, impacts from traffic or stormwater or septic nitrate plumes. You know, we just want to make sure that we're not doing anything to adversely impact those properties. The other conservation area that we want to conserve is what they call secondary conservation areas. And that consists of focus areas that are rated as medium or higher in the natural areas plan. This entire property is located within a focus area that is rated medium or higher. I think it's rated medium. So this entire property is considered a secondary conservation area. So this is a look of the subdivision layout, looking at the entirety of the property. So there'd be one new access drive coming off Meadow Cross Road, pretty much in the same location of the driveway. It's a little bit shifted over, but primarily in the same location. That would come up approximately 1,200 feet, and then there would what the ordinance calls a lollipop road, which would circle in on itself. And then there would be 40 lots, single family residential lots that would come off that. You'll see there's 3 that are served off this first leg, and then the remainder lots are served off this lollipop. We did try to conserve the stream corridor here. So this would all be common land or open space. And again, with the stream is located here in the open space, and the entirety of this property will be protected as open space as well. We are working with the Topsham Conservation Commission and the Brunswick Topsham Land Trust to try to get them to take ownership of either the land or have a easement on top of the open space. That's kind of waiting. We've met with the Conservation Commission. I've had a phone discussion and email correspondence with the Brunswick Topsham Land Trust, and we're just kind of waiting on a site walk. Doesn't make much sense to walk it now with 2 feet of snow on the ground, so we'll wait until the snow melts, and then we'll try to get out there to walk it to see if they have any interest. I think did write down some numbers. So the entirety of the properties, the 2 properties combined, is a little over 111 acres. And the requirements to meet the open space requirements is we'd have to preserve approximately 34 acres in open space. And we are proposing to conserve 75 acres, so more than double the requirements. We did receive some comments at the staff review, which we will incorporate into the project. One of which was up here. There's kind of a pinch point where that open space is. So we're going to try to pull this road down a little bit, create a little bit more room over there. So this is more of a contiguous open space area. One of the discussions we did have with the Conservation Commission is potentially working with them to provide some trailhead off this new roadway, where there could be a trail system that goes out into this area that could be for residents of this subdivision and for the general public as well. So again, those discussions are still very early, but they would be looking for something like that. We are crossing the stream 2 areas, once here and once here. Those will be required to be designed as what we call stream smart crossings. And what that means is you kind of match the width of the stream, you match the material of the stream, and the intent is that you let that stream kind of flow as it always did. You don't create a pinch point. So it just won't be like a 2-foot culvert have. You're gonna have a, I think that stream is like about 3 feet wide. So you're probably gonna have like a 4 or 5 foot wide culvert in that location, those locations. The next slide is just kind of a blow up of the developed area. So again, this is the roadway coming up. Now this plan does not show it, but one of the comments we received at staff review level was that we're going to need to provide a sidewalk on one side of the road. So as we progress this, we'll be adding 5-foot sidewalk on one side. Most likely probably the right-hand side. They'll wrap all the way around this lollipop road. It's probably tough to see on this scale, but there is quite a bit of up and down on this property. So we'll need to look at that when we're taking the next step and looking at how these lots would work with the roadway and how we're going to set the elevation of that roadway to work with the lots. You probably guess there's no public water or sewer out here, so all these lots will be served by private well and septic. And as part of the next phase, we will get those test pits done on each property, make sure we can get passing test pits on each one. We have highlighted some areas on here of potential stormwater treatment areas. We have one here, one here, one here, and they'll probably find another spot or two. Due to the size of this project, it will require that we meet the Site Location Development Act standards, and that deals with treatment of stormwater along with detention of stormwater to make sure you're not increasing any stormwater off-site. That will be permitted through the town process, but we still have to meet all the state requirements. We don't know exactly how many wetlands will be impacted, but just looking at this, my guess is we will trip some DEP permits for wetland impacts, and then we'll also be required to get a permit from the U.S. Army Corps for wetland impacts and stream crossings as well. So again, we're still very early in the process. We're just looking for any input, any comments, any advice you could have to integrate this into the next phase of this project. Yep.
What's the average lot size?
20,000 square feet, somewhere a little bit bigger, but that's so to have when you have private sewer, that's the minimum lot size you can go down is 20,000 square feet.
So that's like what?
So less than
Half an acre.
Like half.
Yes.
Half an acre?
No, less than half an acre.
Listen,
And I think that's too small.
Start. This board will question, you will have an opportunity, and you can do it from the mic when you identify yourself. We're not gonna have it back and forth. Yeah, 40-something thousand is an acre, so 20,000.
43,560.
There you go. I wasn't gonna do that, but
Just to say, I mean, it's less than half an acre, but it's basically half.
no, it is less than half an acre, but anyway. I'm an engineer in Maine.
That's not a quarter.
Anything, Tim?
This is great.
No.
I know there won't be a vote tonight, but I'll be recusing myself going forward because Stonix is a customer at my family's business.
Okay.
Um,
I don't want to throw the thunder.
no, not yet. I mean, we're gonna go to public comment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have another shot.
Yeah.
I did like your comment about, the Topsham Conservation Board thinking about potentially adding trails on the property. It's, as you know, in the ordinance, that's, recreational options is one of the highlights, one of the main points to try and do the open space ordinance. So that's good to hear. It'll be interesting. Obviously, you need either Topsham Conservation or BTLT to move this forward. So see how that goes in the spring.
Hopefully earlier than spring. I think warm.
You good?
I'm good for now.
Okay. You can come back.
Thank you.
You mentioned sidewalk. I'm not speaking for the board, but I think it probably would be good for this board to also do a sidewalk. And we may be able to consolidate, but if we can't, this board can do a sidewalk. For everybody, our sidewalks are open to the public, and that will be announced. You already mentioned the sidewalk. It sounds like that's in your plan. I think police chief had recommended that as well, or something, somewhere I read that. You mentioned the conservation, or the land that was basically you were working with, looking to put in conservation. As you said, we're very early. I'll get a few more comments, then I'll see what comments the public has to say, and then what we've been asked to do is look at a motion to essentially say whether we believe you satisfied the pre-application that is complete. Okay, so go ahead.
Just actually following up on what Scott mentioned, and you mentioned, of course, regarding trail. It's got a trail that's gonna be, I mean, obviously, this trail that could be used for just the residents of the subdivision. But if we're talking about a trail the other residents of the town may be wanting, you need to consider a parking area. Because other than that, I don't see any place for people to park, and that's not gonna be very popular with residents. Or street parking.
Good point.
That's,
No, good point.
some of the gradients look pretty tight, but
Yeah, it's a little bit deceiving because it is pretty big scale.
Yeah.
You're looking at 111 acres.
yes.
But yeah, as you approach the stream corridor, it does get a little steep there. Yeah.
Well, 12, 13, it's a little bit tight for a building.
Yeah, there's a couple lots that at the staff review, there's a wetland swale between lots 12 and 13 and between lots 30 and 31, or I guess just 31. So we'll be looking at shifting maybe those around to try to maintain those wetland swales.
Ron. I'll separate them. Okay. Thank you. Josh, any staff comments?
Nothing, bring up it, absolutely. We were in planning, we were big on the sidewalk, it is recommended, it sounds like you guys are looking to plug that in.
Okay, so I'm gonna open up the public comment. Anyone would like to step to the podium, state your name, please, and whatever comments you'd like to make.
I'm Christian Erdman. And I live at 201 Meadow Cross Road down a ways from there. And I'm also concerned about the impact on the Meadow Cross Road because the road is heavily used already. And they blacktopped it not long ago from 300 down to 196. And it's getting pretty tore up pretty quick.
Hey Patty, did you get his name and address?
It's Guy Christian Erdman, 201 Meadow Cross Road,
Okay, thank you.
Topsham, Maine.
You,
And I believe the lot sizes are too small. I got folks that used to live in Marquette, Michigan, and they had a 1 acre lot, and that was plenty close. In fact, you could hit a neighbor's house, not even a stone's throw away either side. In fact, when my folks had their garage on there, the neighbors put a garage on, and well, there's like less than 20 feet between the two. But half acre lots are too small, and it's like the Highlands up there. I complained about that too. There's some lots that are closer than some of the buildings are closer than 75 feet to one another. If one caught fire, the other one would probably catch fire. So half acre lots are too small. I suggest 1 acre lots. That's just my input. And also the impact on the Meadow Cross Road. Oh, you're gonna have a path, sidewalk down to one side. Well, then they should put a bike's path down the Meadow Cross Road from that point on. I'd like to see the whole Meadow Cross Road have a bike path down to one side of it because they got joggers and hikers from the high school, and I know to take my bike down there, but you're gonna have an impact of another 40 cars on there, plus all the construction workers. So I'm concerned because I ride a bike too, but there's a lot of people that walk down that road.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have other comments? Anyone want to step up and talk?
Yeah, I got something to say. Mark Barton.
He probably didn't hear you. Did you hear?
Mark Barton. I live on 184 Meadow Cross Road. So what he was stating about the lot sizes and so forth, so
you said 100 and something acres, but really this is only encompassing what, like 50 acres? Assuming that side of the power line is not part of this subdivision. Is that correct?
I'll answer, I can't answer that.
So if I understand that, it's bisected by the power line, but it's all one lot, correct or no?
It's two,
Two separate-
It's two tax lots.
but it's gonna be all one subdivision.
Okay, so that, but it's not gonna cross that power line. Well, that's not what I'm saying. Cause that lot right there is more than, is 100 acres, I don't think so. At least it belonged to my in-laws, so I had a pretty good idea.
So why don't you just come up with? My understanding, sir, is,
So that lot itself is about 76 acres,
Okay, yeah.
but the entire, so the other lot on the other side of the CMP right away, it's just gonna be open space. The intent is to preserve as much land as you can and condense the project.
So what I'm leading up to is that I'm pretty familiar with the soil lands, all clay. Pretty impermeable, you can't, it's wet. So if you concentrate all those, that whole site, along with rooftops, sidewalks, roads, you're gonna concentrate a lot of rain runoff into those two little brooks. You know, that's a very good idea myself. But, and also the traffic on the road. I think that, like he said, I think the lots are a little condensed. For that site, you know, I could see it on a sandy site. But, like I said, I know that property and it's clay, it's wet. And I couldn't see packing that all into one spot like that and creating a problem down the road.
thank you. David, you got something?
Hi, my name is Carrie Clossy, Clohosey. I'll just spare you the try to spell it. I'm at 178 Meadow Cross Road, and I have lots of concerns about this. In speaking with a lot of neighbors, I understand that the immediate abutters had been contacted. But the first notice that I had of this was when the minutes came out for meeting for this project, which seems to be moving pretty fast at this point. Although that I'm sure is up for debate, depends on where you're sitting at the table. But a lot of neighbors have lots of concerns about this. A lot have been brought up so far. You're talking about Meadow Cross Road, which has give or take 45 houses on it currently. You're talking about basically doubling the amount of traffic on that road, at least doubling by adding another 40 units. I also understand and think that 30 units lots is the limit within the town. So 40 just seems to be incredibly excessive at this time. You have a 2-lane road, which, you know, we had a description of the blacktop on that road with very little shoulder, which is also a road that's known already to be prone for accidents. If you're ever trying to pull out onto 196 from that road, it's already pretty harrowing. I also had a question about how much of this would be affordable housing or housing that would address some of the housing needs that Topsham currently has. And I don't know what the needs assessments for housing in Topsham are, but my understanding that developments of this nature, and I may be presumptuous, are not targeted at a stratified income. So I'd be curious to know how they really address the real needs for Topsham housing, as opposed to putting burdens on taxpayers, such as widening roads and whatever might need to happen. Also have concern about the road leading in, and whether or not that would be a lighted road. Again, if you've been on Meadow Cross Road, you know that more than just the immediate abutters would be affected. This would affect the whole area and really disrupt the whole essence of that road. Most of us have lived on that road for over 20 years, and some of us have family members that have had property on that road. So I think people are pretty invested in protecting and the environment in that area, the quality of life. I also have concern about this, having 40 new wells on that, given the increasing droughts that we've had. and the impacts that that would have on the water table, and a time when all of us are, crossing our fingers that we're gonna have water, every summer. So those are big, very big concerns, as well as the runoff. That is a significant concern for water quality for all of us that do have existing wells and are currently taxpayers on that road. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments you want to bring forward?
Hi there, Mike Colby, 24 for Jepscott Village. I've been here time and time again for multiple meetings, first time speaker. Not so much concerns, but comments. I personally feel that if it was to take place, it should be, a third of it should be taken off to just preserve what is Meadow Cross Road and not to pack a housing development in there. If there was gonna be some sort of trailhead system to maybe partner with the Topsham Trail Riders, get a four-wheeler trail, access trail, bring back some sort of town back to the town rather than just more houses for other people that think the town's nice and not the residents. And the runoff is gonna go right into the business field, which is already wet, which makes farming hard. And it's already wetland. So kudos to the project. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Hello, I'm Autumn Johnson, I'm owner of Meadow Cross Farm. I'm the butter on. Just, you can see in the very bottom, that is our hayfield. There's not one house in there right now. There are so many concerns, I would probably be here for about 3 hours. When this was brought to my attention, I've been sick over it. Formerly the Ricker Scammon Farm is lot 80. Well, if that moved up a little bit, I'm lot 88. And they're like right above me. Anyway, there's so many concerns. Number one is, and I'll echo what Mr. Barton said. You put that many houses in a small area, you're gonna have severe impacts on watershed, wells, septics, the whole deal. If you guys go and do a site walk of this property and you see where the lay of the land is, we all know Meadow Cross Road. Meadow Cross Road, we've got trees and then they all come down, all that water sheds right in not only one of my top, that water's gonna run right in my top hayfield, which the town of Topsham already knows because the culvert, they let my husband redo because there's so much water shed just from my field that it was plugging up 2 culverts on Meadow Cross Road. We redug them, dumped it all into my backfield, which, where does it go? Cat River. So the runoff is a major, major issue that I'm hoping that we will all address. Lot size is, we're talking half an acre. I've got 60 acres with one house. That's the beauty of Meadow Cross. You know, it's been farmland before I was there. I've been there 30 years and I hope it will stay farmland, but you know, we need places for obviously people to live. This map right here, I did pull off when I was alerted of this from sightlines. That was not enclosed in here. Am I wrong? Has this site development plan, why was it omitted from here, or did I just?
Yeah, no, so there were two links on the website, and so
Okay.
one was for the application packet. And
Okay, and then the other one, okay. Well, as you see the road that goes up abuts our hayfield, the very bottom, where the Meadow Cross, and you can all see in the very far right-hand corner, the Meadow Cross Road right there, the road that they want to access this new project, that right there is the exact spot where the culvert that we had to redo. you're gonna have major, major problems. And where does it dump? 2 of our fields. And I know that we said there's gonna be studies moving forward, but are we all, as butters, are we all gonna have access to what's gonna be happening? And do we have any say, is a question to you as a planning board? Because I have a lot of questions. And a lot of questions and concerns. I mean, how do I, as a butter, address this and ask questions? Is it now or is it going forward? I don't know who to address even ask this question.
So I guess there's certainly gonna be at least one more public hearing on this, right?
Okay,
But this is a application, the subdivision pre-application, as you mentioned, there's gonna be a preliminary, and then to the preliminary, there's a final, right? So there's a number of steps in the process where they have to come and provide drainage plans and different things like that. And there'll be plenty of opportunity for public input into that whole process, and we will have additional public hearings, at least one. All right,
So 3 in all.
so
Okay.
3 public hearings in all.
that's good to, so in, one more question, if that's the case, we're coming into this with, obviously, we're in the wrong time of year for the construction company to do any due diligence and get permitting, get any other soil samples. Will that all be 100% completed prior to the next meeting?
So.
Go ahead.
Yes, so this portion of the application, this is the pre-application portion, which is everything that you see here is conceptual and there's no decisions that are gonna be made by the planning board tonight regarding this at all. So this is just for public to give comment, for the planning board to give comment to the applicant, and for the applicant to share the project. So prior to the next phase of the project would be the preliminary phase, and at that point, there will be a lot more detail.
Okay,
And that would go out and it would be public, that information would go out prior to the meeting, so the public will have a chance to look at all of that information.
it's just there's so many unknowns right now on all of our sides, you know, so it's like you look at this and I'm telling you, it's scary. I mean, if you live on Meadow Cross Road, it's very scary, you know, to see something like this, and I've got to be honest about it. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm one of the, you know, only abutters that if this goes through, I hope I could work, if it does go through, I hope I could work with the company to say, hey, don't drown my fields. And there's a lot of other things as traffic, like a lot of the other townspeople have mentioned, so.
So we'll have public hearings, but we also have peer review input, right? So it's not these guys, not engineering group. We basically have an engineer evaluate what they put together as far as drainage plans and so forth, and give this board recommendations as to whether or not it meets what it's supposed to meet.
Okay.
So I'll call, none of it, we're all volunteers, so we're not experts, and we need someone like a peer review to go through and tell us, here's a problem here or whatever. The other thing is everything that is submitted goes through stamp reviews. So that goes to the police chief and the fire chief and planning director and all of the departments here at Public Works, right? And so some of your comments in regards to culverts in the street and the access and so forth. Public Works needs to basically bless what they're proposing. Okay, so there are a lot of, I guess I'd call them checks and balances along the way, and you'll have.
So that will be done
opportunities.
prior to the next one,
Right.
okay, because I'm
I don't
asking
know
you
that
many questions we
everything
don't have
will be
answers
done,
to.
right, for preliminary, but certainly when it gets to final, everything should be done before
Okay,
it gets finally approved.
all right, thank you so much.
Any other? Please step up again, sir.
Yep. I Urban 201 Meadow Cross Road, Topsham, Maine. Okay. My concerns, they put 3 new culverts in. Yeah, in fact, I even recommended the 3rd one. Goes under corner of my property at 201 Meadow Cross Road. Well, that water starts backing up because there's 4x4s, snowmobiles, and some other traffic that goes across down the power line and across that road. And that area gets blocked off and all the water starts pooling in my yard, backing up because it's getting blocked off. They need to have that waterway opened up from 201 Meadow Cross Road. Down across the field, like it naturally goes, cause they plug it in with all the traffic. Oh, we gotta throw some logs in there or something. Yeah, so it blocks the water up, and even beaver dam the creek up already too, so it's backed up into my yard somewhat. My other concern is, how is this gonna impact our taxes? I moved in my property at 201 Meadowcross 1998. It was $1,350. Then all of a sudden, well, I was getting taxed on $205,000. And it went up to $250, and now I'm getting taxed on $339,000. My house hasn't changed. I've kept it up, new septic field this last year. Had 2 contractors fail. I keep up the well and this new roof insulation painting. I've been keeping my house up. But the taxation, you guys are spending money way too fast. That's a great concern. And I'm wondering if this project is gonna help lower taxes or not. That's another thing. Yeah, I mean, they put in this great big fancy building here, $18 million. And the school, another $18 million. I mean, you got a police station, oh well. Went over there one time
Point of order.
and
If you-
went in there and they had a phone on the
Can
wall.
you wrap this up, please?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. You guys are spending too money that you don't have.
This board doesn't spend any money.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it all works into money. One way or another.
All right, sir.
I live on, across from this.
Identify your name, please.
Douglas Scammon, 279 Meadow Cross Road.
Thank you.
That low piece there that comes onto the Meadow Cross Road. The water comes down that particular driveway so bad, it washes out onto the main highway down there, onto the Meadow Cross Road. The water runs down from there considerably at a good rate. It also runs down into that low land on that further corner there. It runs in there real good. I know it runs out and look to that brook, but it's a lot of water right there. Constantly. Up on the fence line there, what we call the fence line, because that's where we have a pasture. Cause I used to own all that land that was right beside there. And it was very interesting to go up there in the springtime and try to fence in mud. That whole area up in there is nothing but a big wet hole. There's a lot of property up in there that needs to be protected like you had to do for the trailer park over here. That's groundwater that runs all down through there to our wells, to our brooks, to the Meadow Cross, Cat Inch River. It all comes from up in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I lived there for years.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll close the comments. Yes, any board comments?
So the application looks complete, right?
Yes, well, before we go there, there were a number of issues. I know you were taking notes. But certainly, we'll need your look at obviously drainage and then the peer review's comments in regards to that drainage plan. And in particular, they've given you a lot of, I'll just say some of the areas that they already have some, it sounds like fairly severe problems. So we'll need to approach that. I think the other thing, and I think you have it in here somewhere, but there is a lot of concern about traffic as well, so you need to be able to address that. And then my only other thought from a different perspective was explaining, and I know what open space means, right? But not everyone does, so just giving a good picture of what that open space means and why the project is kind of focused in that area and taking advantage of some of the other area, the second lot, so to speak, to provide the open space, which is what is being asked for by conservation and so forth. So that's kind of some of my thoughts. I thought you had some good input from the public. So let's see if we can't try to address that.
Sure.
And then some of the other issues that this gentleman mentioned, I'd ask you to bring up to Mark and the assistant town manager. Let's do that and go on to at least get with these guys and find out what some of those are issues that they currently have, which blockage of culverts and so forth. All right. All right.
They're gonna need to be a traffic DOT type thing because of Meadow Cross and 196.
With this amount of units, this does not trip the 100 trips during peak hours, so there won't be a traffic impact study. But we will provide a traffic memo from a traffic engineer that summarizes anticipated traffic generated from this project and looks at any high crash locations in the area and any potential impacts.
It may not trip, but we need, I think, to have a.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not gonna go through the
Somewhere close to
DOT, it's not gonna go through the DOT process.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yep.
But to his point, and I think that is important to understand.
Yep.
Right, so.
Yeah, because I do know, of course, Meadow Cross and Whiting's Crossing come in at the same time on 196. Interesting intersection.
And I guess the only other thought, and I'm not trying to tell you how to do the project, but to the extent that if your entrance or exit, whatever, is coming out right on top of those culverts, that's another question. Is that the right place for it and how it should work? But anyway.
Yep.
That's not, again, I'm not trying to redevelop the project for you. Any other questions or comments or?
There's an ATV trail along the CMP corridor. Does that go through your project? Those are two lots?
So the CMP corridor is owned by CMP. It's not,
Right.
it's not an easement over our property. So as far as I know, none of the trails go across the property, at least no designated trails.
Yeah, I'm not an ATV rider, but I
Yeah.
thought there was a West Topsham ATV trail out there somewhere.
Yeah. And you know, when we talk with the conservation board and the Brunswick Coastal Land Trust, we can talk to them about ATV usage. A lot of times they're not super in favor of that, but we can definitely discuss it with them and see if there's opportunity for something like that in this area.
Yeah, I would flag that because I think that there is some usage out there.
If I could.
Yeah, well, obviously, what the comments was that the ATVs throw the logs into the brook and back up the water.
Okay, ma'am, please step up real quick.
There
I'm not opening up for the public, but if you have a
There
comment.
is an because I left the ATV, the top trail riders, they do come on your left lot and they come back through the left lot. They do use CMPs, but they also come over on your lot, dump onto mine, and because they have access permission, because they've been wonderful with that. We've let them every year for over 10 years. And they do maintain, I mean, they maintain trails and everything, they know.
And again, that would be a discussion with the conservation easement holder.
Automobiles.
It'd be whoever held the open space, so. we would-
Can I have that lady's name?
Autumn Johnson.
Autumn Johnson. And like I said earlier, I do think that we need to have a sidewalk.
I have snowshoes.
If I may just address a couple of the issues, like some of them are drainage I can't address now just because this is very early in the process. Traffic again, very early in the process. There's a question about lights along the road. So that the entirety of the road will not be lit, but at any intersection, the town will want a light. So where this new road ties in Meadow Cross Road, there'll be a light there to light that intersection. And that's again for traffic safety purposes. And where the kind of the lollipop starts, that'll be an intersection as well. And there'll probably be a light at that intersection as well. So at maximum, there'll probably be 2 lights, street lights for this project. The question about the amount of wells and septic, that's all part of the package that we'll need to prepare to meet site law standards from DEP. We have to address the nitrate plumes that'll be generated from the septic systems, along with the water that's being extracted from the wells. I will say I am not a geologist, but I've read a lot of reports. Usually when you have wells and septic together, that's not a concern because what you're using in your wells put back in the ground in your septic. So it's kind of a continuous process. I don't want to tell you you're drinking your septic water, but you are. And then there's quite a lot of questions about the drainage at Meadow Cross Road. We will evaluate all that as part of our stormwater report. Typically, when we do it, we look at what we call analysis points, and that's where stormwater is either leaving our property, or if there's a drainage concentration point, like a culvert near the property, then we'll extend the analysis out to there. Here, I know we'll have an analysis point at the culvert where the stream crosses under Meadowcross Road. We'll have another one probably where there's a culvert, like the woman noted, right where approximately where the entrance drive is going to be. And then there'll be another analysis point on the western side of the property where that flow goes off. So we will be looking at all that as part of our next steps.
All right. So there are no other questions or comments from this. I will entertain a motion.
It did with me.
No, go ahead.
You
say?
You saw the planning director's comments as far as the lots 1, 2, and 3. You know, try and take that into account as far as, you know, that being one of the main purposes of the space ordinance is to try and, you know, encourage creative design and fitting it into the area. You'll note that you're a butter that has spoken a number of times, twice tonight. You know, that land is an agricultural easement. That whole front area is a meadow that kind of fits in with the rest of the agricultural easements and properties in the area. So, you know, something you think she put it in better words than I did in that memo, but that's something to keep in mind. And also keep in mind those 5 purposes of this. Obviously, those are in comparison to doing a regular subdivision, but they're also, you know, part of the game here. Doing the open space and the goal is for the open space.
Yep.
Okay.
So we good? I'm good.
Anyone else? Motion.
Tim has it.
I've got it right here.
Oh, there we go.
I move that the pre-application submission for the proposed 300 Meadowcross Road open space subdivision provides a clear understanding of the site, such that the board may identify any hidden issues and constraints that must be addressed in a formal subdivision application.
I'll second that motion.
So Patty, you got that? It was Tim and Larry.
Thank you, got it.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed. All right, everyone, Marilyn recused herself. Everyone else was in favor. All right. Item number F. Topsham Dental Arts PA is requesting the board approval of the use of bond, a performance guarantee for work to be completed on the approved dental office proposed at 5 Village Drive, tax map R04, lot 18A. And Scott is going to do this, I'm recusing myself.
All right. Dr. Anna, you want to speak to it or we? I don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Good evening, my name is Timothy Nichols. I'm the husband of Dr. Polly Nichols, who owns Topsham Dental Arts. And as normal, this project has expanded to consume all of our cash. And so that's why we're coming here to ask the board to accept bonds in lieu of cash for the performance guarantees. Do you have any more information? I didn't bring the bonds. Do you have them?
I believe we have the draft.
Okay.
We have the draft bonds.
Basically, just for the board, it's just simply that because it's not listed explicitly that as a bond is an option. It does state in the code that any other performance guarantee options would just need to be considered and approved by the board.
It sounds like treasurer's fine with it. You guys are.
Yep, absolutely.
And if I may speak to this, all of the work is a maximum price construction contract. So we're assuming the work's gonna be done.
Any comments?
Just because I do this type of stuff. They've been looking to the, merchants bonding as for an AM Best rating. Unofficially, they're a very good company. They have an A and A plus from AM Best.
So that's your comment, is that they are an A rate, the bonding company is an A rated company? Thank you.
Right.
I didn't know, I didn't do the
Because
research.
bonding companies, you know, you get bad ones,
Sure.
then the
Good
bond
luck.
doesn't mean anything. You know, you don't perform, the bond company goes belly up.
Yep.
And there we go.
All right,
Yeah,
Merchants has been around for a long time.
sure.
yeah, I move that the planning board find a bond be an acceptable method of performance guarantee. The approved Topsom Dental Arts project at 5 Village Drive.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Show unanimous, Patty. Did you get that Tim made the motion and Barry seconded it?
I did, thank you.
And I recuse.
Ah, yes.
And
Thank you.
I read the last, you did the last agenda.
All right. Back to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. We can take as long or as little time as you guys want, but I do, want to at least talk about a different approach to what we've been doing with the recode. As everyone knows, we've been doing this for a number of years now. Unfortunately, it's gotten a little bit disjointed again because we've been doing other things, and we're getting ready to quote, go back to the recode. It's funny, I put together a list of some concerns I had with it in 25, and then I put together another list in 26. And we're basically the same list. Right? So, and I'm not gonna belabor it, but basically that new recode eliminates basically PCD, as well as any of the other planned, whether it's planned residential, mixed or commercial. But it also does things like creating a new zone for the village, or for Middle Village, basically. And in doing that, we end up making a number of businesses non-conforming. And you can extend that all the way. It basically makes, in Village Center alone, it makes Goodwin, Brillants, Toyota, Gibbs, Nissan, all those become non-conforming. It also starts to impact coming around with the transition zone that's being created on Union Park. It takes out VIP, and then I have over on Park, it's Hancock, Morningstar, Hinkley, Goodwill, and Life Storage. So that's just one issue. If you start looking at other issues, there's density issues. Dean Catlin did a review of what he could do over here. Basically, after it was all said and done, it was asking for retail in the back buildings, right? Which frankly, we've at least seen in other areas like Freeport, where having them off of the main street essentially doesn't work. In particular, that whole thing went belly up and got sold. All that being said, I can go on and on, but the bottom line is what I would like to ask this board, and basically, we're not doing any vote, we're not necessarily even doing a straw poll, but this board does essentially decide what they do and don't hear as far as workshops. Right? And I guess what I would like to propose to this board is we kind of shift the direction on the way we're doing this, and we ask CPIC to give us kind of the top 10 or 15 or 20, whatever items that they've unearthed while they were doing this recode that they would like to see us put into the existing code. So that basically the existing code becomes the code that we use as the baseline. And then we update the existing code to incorporate the good stuff.
That makes sense.
And we can go through them one by one.
And we should be able to do two things, which is something I've struggled with for several years now. And that is we'll be able to see a red line. Right?
Yes.
We can't.
Having been on the last CPIC, that's exactly what we needed. small bites. Full red line versions where you can tell every single change, and we did like 15 of them. And then the comprehensive plan was over, the implementation part was over. You know,
So,
simple, easy to review.
so
easy to know
I'm
the
not trying to
implications.
throw everything out, because CPIC has put a lot of effort, we've had consultants on it, there's been a lot of work done here. But I'm not speaking for anyone on this board, but if you ask me, could I recommend it to go to the select board off the pass, I couldn't do that, right? And
Right.
and that what I hate is that even if we deal with, and so we don't do the transition zone at Topsham Fair Mall, right? And leave it the way it is, which is what I would propose. And even if we do fix some of the, I'll call it the use table issues that are on Main Street, right? We have all the material issues as well, which we really, this recode is telling people, here are the materials that developers have to use, right?
John, can I
Yeah.
interrupt? Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Was this wasn't on the agenda, was it, what you're talking about now? So it's a
I-
workshop thing.
I added it onto the agenda. So it's really not a workshop, it's talking about going forward, right? And I actually wanted it to be part of an official meeting, so it was recorded as part of the minutes.
If it wasn't on the agenda, you still want me to put it in the minutes?
Yes, please. Sorry, I should have told you that, Patty, but anyway.
Yeah.
And these guys didn't know I was gonna do it, I just asked Scott not to adjourn, which he normally does right off. But.
I wish I had.
Well, I know you don't agree with me, right? So I appreciate that, right? But, and I want you to be able to speak, but
No,
the bottom line is this, I think the direction that we need to go is to flip it, right? Because I couldn't recommend it right now. So, go ahead, Scott.
okay, first point, we're not being asked to recommend it right now. It's been put on the sideline to be moved forward at a later time. Yes, it's taken much longer than any of us had thought or hoped. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of turnover at town. This started with Rod.
No,
Right.
Rod Melanson was our town planner when this started.
I was
That
looking
was
for
a while
emails
ago.
the other day, basically to
So-
eliminate emails,
Yeah.
because I got a message saying I had too many emails saved, right? And
So there's
go
been,
back 2 or 3 years at
oh
least.
yeah, no, even longer.
6.
And so it's taken a long time. I don't know that it's, I mean, I know we discussed what comes before us. I don't know it's our place to say the comp plan that was voted on by the town and passed by the town, and it's now in CPIC's hands, is not something we're gonna deal with. I would hope that if we're going to make a change this large, that we're gonna get some kind of indication from selectmen on where they wanna go with this. There's been a lot of money spent already. There's been even more time spent, not only by town staff, but volunteers. Those of us who've been on this board for these years. I think we've been doing a lot of what you're saying along the way. There, all the, most of the changes that are allowing, Union, 4th Street or whatever we're calling them, the apartment building. Changes that were made to the code that are useful for that project were put in because they were aligned with recode.
No,
And I think we can keep doing some of that, but I don't think that it's time to just say, throw it out. I mean, it seems like I may be in the minority on the board on this, but it seems like too much time, effort, and that the comp plan was asking to incorporate this, to have a localized growth zone, that is not inclusive of all our R3 area. Whereas, our current, I think it was the 2007 CPIC and growth zone, included all of 196, included, parts of the rural area. Obviously, we're getting some feedback today that maybe some of the rural area, we don't want as much of that. The only problem is we're gonna probably have to have another comp plan in another 4 or 5 years, so.
Well, I think we need another one now, but I knew you weren't gonna like it, right? I wasn't trying to, undercut any of your thoughts or whatever, but, the bottom line is that I'm not saying that good things haven't been identified with this whole process. Because they have, and you're right, we've actually incorporated them into our existing code, right? Union Park is an example. That's all I'm asking. Pull out the really good stuff that we got out of this, right? And we've had plenty of time to study it and whatever, and then incorporate that into our existing code. My biggest issue is every time a question is asked, it's like, it's not even hard to stump the panel because the panel gets stumped. And then we find all these other issues, right? So whether it's, it's asking Tom to look at, what about if Danny's gonna use something like, a PCD or whatever, right? How is that impacted? And then Tom goes and runs a report, well, there's no PCDs in the recode, they all disappear, right? So the bottom line is that I wanna trust that what we have as our baseline is a good baseline, but we can update it and reflect again, stuff that came from the comprehensive plan, that went through CPIC, that can go into this plan, but not doing it, the process the way we're doing it now. I'm not even sure we know all the right questions to ask, and I also I'm not even sure that, not picking on these guys or Tom, I'm not even sure they can, with that product, how they're going to do it, right? And when some of the answers I got in one of the meetings was, well, you can do waivers, right? I don't want to do more waivers, right? More waivers, actually, we could argue that would be good, but to Larry's point at our last meeting, you don't want stuff that is that waiverable, right? Because you never know who's going to be on these committees, right? You want stuff that is more firm, and then
That's a good point.
it identifies what you want to stay by, and it precludes people from, getting so subjective that now they're wavering everything. So I'm not
sure it's bringing in more waivers. I mean, that was talked about as a fix for some questions people ask, but it's not necessarily what's is adding waivers.
No, I didn't say
about Danny's project that has been put before us.
Yeah.
When it first came up, it couldn't work given our town code as it is. When he brought the changes, it could work in the new code. There were gonna have to be a few changes to what he had proposed, but in the overall picture, it could work.
No, even if they change
Wasn't
the
gonna
bill.
work because of.
No, even if they
Well,
change the
financially
bill, right,
work.
which you suggested, and that was a good suggestion, right, don't misunderstand me. Under the new, the density drops in half. Right, so we've already lost half, or I said he's already lost half the density he could do there with that project. Right, and that was in that report, right, that he did. So half the density went, and the other thing is that it required for retail to be on first floors of all the buildings in the back. They couldn't be just all residential. And so I'm not, again, we have a code that is kind of stood up a lot, right? There are good things that the recode has shown us. Why can't we keep doing what we did for Union Park and updating that? So go through and say, here's all the things we should try to incorporate without doing wholesale changes to a particular area, right? Which is what the recode is trying to do.
Right, my concern has been, and I've expressed this before, that, you had the initial, recode idea for the town center. Well, then you also had code cleanup, but, now we have substantive changes through code cleanup that affect other parts of the town. And like you said, there are, things that work, and people are gonna say, okay, yeah, I can go with that amendment to the code. But this was going to be, you're throwing out all of this, and now you've got to get a complete vote to throw out what we currently have and adopt this whole, could be looked at as a wholesale change. So you get this person saying, well, I don't like this part, I'm gonna vote against this. Somebody else saying, well, I don't like this part, I'm gonna vote against it. And so you get some people, but the person who voted against this says, I like this. So I prefer the more, focused aspect of saying, okay, here's what it is on the warrant. This is what this does, and this is what we've always done. As far as changing things. And yes, there are good ideas. But, if it's a good idea, the town will support it. In theory. And that gets adopted. As
And-
opposed to losing that good idea because somebody says, well, I don't like this other part. So therefore you don't get the good idea because I think this is a bad idea.
And to your point, right, who should be doing this? I can't tell you how many times and how many meetings the town manager said, it's the planning board. So if the planning board is the one that needs to make that decision, then that's us, and that's what we're doing.
And we're getting awfully close to town meeting time.
Well, this isn't gonna make our
Sorry,
meeting
well,
anyway, so this can't make, right, so they don't have enough for the work, or any of the public hearings or whatever.
Right, and we don't want a January town meeting, which was talked about a year or so ago either.
Right.
No,
Which
so,
would put to next year, 2027, and we're due for a new comprehensive plan in 2029.
Right.
So.
so, I understand all your concerns, right? And I'm not saying they're not valid concerns, I just think we have to, if the town manager says, the planning board. It's up to you, well, it's up to us, right? And I think right now we
We've
sit
told
there
that a number
and
of times.
and take a time out and say. We'd like to use our current code as our baseline. And give us and bring back to us. All, whether it's 10, maybe it's 20, I don't know what the number is, right? Give us all the great and new ideas that we've come up with as a result of doing all the free code and study. And then incorporate that into our zoning with red lines, and then we go through new workshops on those red lines.
Absolutely, because I feel like we've been in the pinball machine.
We're never gonna get it done.
It is so hard to figure out what has changed and what had not, and hold them side by side. Figure out how it will be interpreted. It's very difficult. If you're someone who's trying to digest what the changes will be, it's nearly impossible to figure it out.
And I have legal training, and I get confused on the whole thing, for what was changed here and there.
I did have a question. So on the, I guess it was the last agenda or maybe the one before, the Toyota garage put, an 8-bay new sort of addition in the back. And I looked at that and I said, I wonder if that would be allowable under recode. And I couldn't figure it out. Because they changed because automobile dealer strips are not allowed in the recode, right, on Main Street. So, but then they also changed the non-conforming paragraphs, so I couldn't figure out if it would be allowed or not. I tried, I couldn't figure that. But that,
So, but anyway, under the current recode that's been presented and the project that Danny did that example of. Because he couldn't because he can't get the density, he wouldn't be able to build that project. So, and I know other developers that aren't even going to any of the meetings anymore because they feel like they've been trying to get someone to listen to them for 2 years and it's just not worth the time. So that's. We can do a straw poll, I don't care how we wanna do it, but I'd like to ask Josh to go back and ask Sky and. The CJ to look at it from a different perspective and from that approach. Then we can certainly.
Sure, we'll talk about it.
Right, we'll talk about it more, right?
I mean, I do agree, there's been a lack of productivity. And it's been a long road. And maybe there is an easier and better process for doing this. Yeah, I wish you'd let me know beforehand, so I could have talked about this more than 5 minutes ago. But
I gave the town manager, it's like. I just. This one's on me. All right, well. Are we good?
I can say that as some sitting here earlier or whatever, I would not be suggesting that we move the recode forward to the point to the select board with a not to pass.
Yeah, I would be the same. I would vote against, passing.
I'd be voting ought not to pass.
So, I mean, if that's where it's going, then why not do something in the middle where we take some of their hard work?
Yeah.
And implement it into our current baseline.
Right.
It
I like
makes
the
sense.
incremental modification.
And you know what? We do that and it's working well. And then maybe we look at some more and eventually maybe we are able to palette the recode. But doing it all right now, it's the amount of things that you found that would be in violation are staggering.
Okay,
Yeah,
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, guys.
John, what's coming?
Thank you, your audit. He audited our meeting tonight. It was what a meeting for him to sit in on, huh?
Yeah. Next one.
Yeah.